Amandla. Long live the ANC, long live. Long live the Alliance, long live. Forward to socialism, forward. Down with capitalism, down. Thank you very much, Comrade Chairperson. Let me greet first the President of the ANC, President Ramaphosa, the entire officials, former Presidents, Mbeki, and President of the country, Mtlante, members of the NEC, leadership of our Communist Party, officials, Comrade Blade, and members of our Central Committee, our delegation here, leadership of COSATU, led by Comrade Zingi Swalosi. We were together outside. We joined the picket lines of workers who are fighting for their rights, Comrade President, including ANC workers. And we did say, we didn't know we were going to speak. I have no prepared notes to share. I'll express a few words because I was only informed from the picket line on my way here. It's something that we need to address. Because we would have prepared you appropriate notes for what we think should be considered for this policy conference. Let me extend further greetings to components of our liberation movement, the mass democratic formations, especially the MK Liberation War veterans and the veterans of our struggle. Our main message, if we were as allowed now to say something, covers few things. The first is that this policy conference has a mammoth task to rescue the African National Congress from the crisis it faces, both internal crisis as well as external crisis of confidence by our people that have over the years relied on this glorious people's movement to carry out their aspirations as it led them in their liberation struggle. That's the first critical task. And therefore, Comrade President, we'll want this policy conference to come up with possibilities for the ANC to stop dividing itself and have a mechanism to manage internal contradictions and focus on its critical mandate to serve the people. The second critical task related to that is to rescue the National Democratic Revolution, which is currently facing very serious challenges, including possibilities for major reversals. In many respects, we are suffering huge setbacks in our revolution. And for us to reverse this, we require a strong, united African National Congress focusing on issues affecting the people of this country and, of course, internal issues affecting the organization of the ANC. Critical, therefore, for the policy conference is to look at the state of our economy. We want to call on this policy conference to look into major reversals of a neoliberal macroeconomic framework that has foundationed our transition to democracy in this country. That framework that we have pursued is not suitable for our country. It's not working. We need radical change to that framework. This framework will respond to both fiscal policy, how we manage our finances, policies, as well as monetary policy. The mandate of the Reserve Bank, for instance, to be expanded to deal with unemployment as a major crisis facing our country, to deal with economic development, not in the context that it is framed today, because the framework that it is in only serves the interests of big capital, which has no mandate and responsibility to the well-being of society. Therefore, we need to recast ourselves and relook into this economic framework so that it can respond to the living conditions of our people. Having said that, there are critical questions in the economic sphere that the Alliance, together with the ANC itself, COSATU, SANCO and others, had agreed, and these matters have not been attended to, Comrade President. This includes a comprehensive economic analysis so that jointly, when we confront challenges that we face, we don't blame one another. Sometimes it's too unfair, members of the liberation movement, when we speak in public, we speak in discord, precisely because we are not agreeing on the fundamentals. For instance, it is our belief as the SACP that for a developing country like ours, we need to be rebuilding state-owned enterprises rather than destroying them. Because these are instruments of development. If you just want to have them for the sake of having them to facilitate business, then they will not serve the purpose of the revolution. So it's an issue that if we were to have that economic summit that the Alliance had fully agreed to convene, we will then place these matters on the table and deal with them. We will not have reached the situation we are, for instance, regarding the energy crisis, ESCOM, rolling mass blackout. In the township, in my township, Togoza, President, when there's load shedding of 2 hours or 3 hours in other areas, it's 12 hours at a go. And the same, I'm told, in other areas. So in the black communities, load shedding is not as it happens in the cities and in suburbs. This matter would have received comprehensive attention if the economic summit of the Alliance was convened. Now that it is not, this policy conference has a mandate to respond to the challenges that we face. We are, President, not completely happy with the framework that has been put in place regarding the rescue of ESCOM, because we still believe that it still places the responsibility to the private sector, which has no accountability to the people of this country. When the people have no electricity, they don't call corporations, they call the government. So we need to take full responsibility, recapitalize ESCOM in the manner that we can discuss with society so that we are accountable for the actions that we have taken ourselves. So we still believe that these are issues that will further require engagement post this policy conference within the framework of the Alliance. Other issues, Comrade President, are matters that you will require to deal with. The land question. Comrades, any revolutionary will know the land is a principal form of property relations. In other words, it determines whether society is rich or poor, the ownership of the land. We can't be dilly-dallying on the matter of this nature, on the land question, in the midst of poverty. We need, therefore, this policy conference to come out much more clear, including not only relying with parties in parliament on how to resolve this question of the land, including possibilities, for instance, to consult society-wide and take a full decision, political decision. Therefore, we want to take this opportunity, I see, because I was not told how many minutes I'm speaking, Comrade President. I was not told, literally. I think I appreciate that, Comrade Mtwati. He says I must cut. Before the cut, is to respond to the financial sector. The financial sector in this country is undermining our liberation movement and our government. The banks. But perhaps it's much less about them, but about ourselves. We have called for establishment of public banking systems. You can have Gauteng government, for instance, having its own bank. There's nothing wrong with that. Municipalities, metros having their own banks. Because in the context of a country that is focusing on fiat money, in other words, paper money, money that is not pegged to any critical mineral, the gold or any other thing, platinum that we have. The banking system, it's organized looting by capital worldwide. So states must create their own banking institution to prevent public looting of national resources, but also to participate in the creation of value, of wealth, of money for development. A sovereign country should not be begging money for development. In other words, we have discussed these matters sometimes with some of the leaders here, but it's practiced in other countries. We need to have a relationship, define a relationship, particularly in a context of a developing country like ours, with high unemployment rate, between management of inflation in terms of the Reserve Bank mandate, job creation, and the role of banks, particularly in the current system of fiat money. So that when you are to release money for development, you don't only rely on outside capitalists or investment. The state can drive that process of internal development. We hope Policy Conference will find time to address these big challenges facing our people. The runaway inflation. The Reserve Bank responds further with blunt instruments. How do you think the unemployed, the majority who are poor in this country, are going to be helped by you raising the lending rates in the country when they have nothing to spend? In fact, you are deepening their crisis. But because we have decapitated the capacity of the state, fragmented the state interventions, and I've heard Policy Conference also going to be discussing setting up many other new institutions. Let's review these matters, comrades. Sometimes you can listen to your allies when they make propositions. It's not every problem that requires an institution. We need to take appropriate policies, build the capacity of the state that can be able to comprehensively respond. Not because when you fragment the state, the leadership at the apex level becomes only the shell. The agencies that are unaccountable are the ones that are messing up things. We want to take this opportunity to wish this Policy Conference great success, more unity, more focus, less squabbling, because South Africa is looking up to this glorious movement of the people to come with appropriate solutions for the challenges that we face. Thank you very much. Amandla!
Kanime, kancinci nje, kancane nje. Benibane zayicula lo ngoma xa ephakama. Now we're going to call on Comrade Singiswalo.